A big welcome to Phakisa Freeway and Regional Extreme Festival action here. It's the second round of the regional side of things, and as you can see lined up on the grid to start our day off is DOE's Formula V. We're about 17 degrees Celsius at the moment, ambient temperature. Going to be getting up to about 25 degrees Celsius later on in the day here at the Phakisa Freeway. Track conditions probably not ideal just yet, probably going to be cooler than what these guys would expect to have for the hand-cooked tyres that they use on these Formula Vs. But as you can see, a nice field of Formula Vs about to make their way out onto the circuit for the very first time. And of course, lined up in their grid positions at this point in time, we have Gert Van Den Berg on pole position. Alongside him will be Lendl Jansen, rocking some new colours. He's gone from the all-yellow car to a black and gold machine, so we're expecting to see a little bit of an improvement there as he steps up to gold status in that particular machine of his. Behind that, Brandon Hills, Greg Wilson, Shaun Van Der Linde and Peter Hills. They make their way down towards turn number one. It's a good start from Shaun Van Der Linde in the middle there. He's got the bright green sort of Hulk-coloured car as he comes into turn one. He slots up into third place. So a great move there from Shaun Van Der Linde from fifth to third, making up two positions down into turn one. Kicking things off here for the very first time. A massive welcome to everybody joining us worldwide here on our Facebook and YouTube streams, and I hope you're going to enjoy all the action with us all day long. If you do want to pick up, of course, on some of the live timing, we have got live timing going out versus via ZA timing as well as on Speed Hive. If you've got Speed Hive on your smart devices, you can pick up on that. And of course, we also have a YouTube link which we'll put up at some point during the day if you haven't seen it already. But if you want to pick up on that, of course, it's on the Up to 60 Seconds YouTube and Two Wheels TV YouTube channel as well. Massive welcome to everybody that has joined us here. I see a whole bunch of people already joining us via the Voice of Choice. We're going out via Mobile One V8 Supercars. We're going out via the Extreme Festival Facebook page. And we're also, of course, crossing over to the Stradale page too. So a massive welcome to everybody that has joined us here for the first part of the day's proceedings here at the Regional Extreme Festival at the Phakisa Freeway. They're coming out of Unchini 1 and Unchini 2. A little bit of sliding there. Looks like from Greg Wilson in the third car as he gets a little bit out of shape coming through there for the very first time. Just trying to pick up on our timing there. It's also a good start there from Gert Van Den Berg, who is looking to try and get away at the front end, as you can see. But as they come down onto the braking point now, it's just a lift off there. It's not really a braking point as they go through that fast right-hander. And we watch the 8 car going through there of Peter Hills. A couple of guys with some new colours in the mix there as well, which is fantastic to see. And some new teammates getting together. Out of the final corner now, they head down towards that last part of the circuit. It's penultimate corner they're coming through there that we're picking up on. And then they come into this last corner to complete lap number 1. Great start here from the Formula Vs. Of course, new sponsor for this year with DOE joining them. The parts company, Quality Parts, is part of their sponsorship deal. It's great to have them on board, and a big welcome to them as well for the second time. But it's a 10-lapper that we're about to get into. Straight after this, we're heading to Mobile One V8 Supercars. We've got G&H Transport Extreme Supercars and the Volkswagen Challenge. Then we have another 4 heats of each of those categories again. And then, of course, the reason that we're here this weekend, the big one, is the Phakisa 200. Made up of Volkswagen Challenge cars and, of course, the 2 car care clinic categories. That's the Super Hatch and the Sports and GT and 111 Sports and Saloons. Nice manoeuvring up here, as you can see, a little bit of chopping and changing and starting to get a little bit closer and a little bit more up close and personal. We've got Van den Berg out front. His first lap from a standing start was a 54.47. That's an incredible lap time coming out of that man. His qualifying time, of course, was a 49. So a little bit more time to come now as they get into the thick of it. And you can see here on the second lap, Lendl Jansen just starting to close that gap down. Greg Wilson under a bit of attack. He's got the 2, in fact, he's got all 3 of the Hills boys and Shaun Van Der Linde on his tail. Shaun Van Der Linde, of course, in that Irish green and orange or pinky colours that you can see on your screen right now. The number 7 car there. Looking for a chance to close that gap down. He's lost out 1 position there by the looks of things to one of the Hills boys. I think it might be Brandon who's slotted up ahead of Van Der Linde. And it looks like here's a move from Peter Hills. Diving through as well. Is that the 8 car? Yes, it is. Peter Hills diving through there and demoting the 7 car down 1 position. So reverse numerical order, but on track, the right order that Brandon Hills wants to be in and Peter Hills wants to be in, and that's 4 and 5 on track. 1, 2, and 3 starting to get away ever so slightly. Hills and Hills now ahead of Van Der Linde. Then it's Vaughn Hills behind him. It's MD Bester. MD Bester with a good start in that machine of his too, as he comes through to complete another lap. And then just behind that, the 49 car, of course, is Richard Carr, Lucky Star Sardines machine, and the Flying Fish, as we like to call him, absolutely hauling across that line and completing lap number 2. Lap times now down to 50.9 and 50.7. Lendl Jansen in second place is the fastest man on track and starting to look to try and close that gap down on Gert Van Den Berg, who's got away at the front end from the word go. Wilson's starting to do the same thing, trying to bridge that gap to second and first. And then there's a small gap down to the two Hills boys. And Van Der Linde trying to keep out the third of them. Vaughn trying to find a way past. Hasn't quite done it just yet, but may be able to do it coming down towards the toe of the boot. It's the first time that we're here. Philly Adlam also having a look at what's happening here from all the way from Krugersdorp and the Randfontein area. Good to have you here, buddy. Thanks so much. Hope you've enjoyed all of the action so far. And of course, you're going to be looking forward to seeing Mackie out on track in a few minutes' time when we get into the first heat of Mobil 1 V8 supercars. Look at this little battle. Nice little battle starting to rage here. As you can see, a little bit of maneuver coming on here from MD Bester trying to find a way through on Vaughn Hills. Vaughn Hills going defensive, hanging on to that inside line. MD trying to go around the outside, and Carr now in the mix too. In fact, that is Richard Carr. Richard Carr has moved up between the two similarly liveried cars there. 4 of them now from that team in very similar livery. Heading down the back straight away in a Formula V as they roll off and head into the fast right-hander here. It's probably about 220 k's an hour in a Formula V. It's absolutely amazing stuff to see how these little single-seaters get up to great pace around here and put on a spectacular show, as spectacular as what we would have seen here in its heyday with MotoGP. But there's hardly ever a time that you have a Formula V race that's not spectacular, which is great to see, and of course a nice way to kick off the day's proceedings. Another lap completed. And you can see a little bit more pressure now from Lendl Jansen. Lendl Jansen 50.8080. So you've literally got a 50 dead there from Lendl Jansen to close that gap down on the 50.4. Almost half a second quicker there than the leader. Gert Van Den Berg's going to have a little bit of concern to be worried about right now. As you can see, pressure being applied. Opportunities being looked for there by the Bull security man to try and get through there on Gatti. Gert Van Den Berg looking to take that number 2 plate and maybe make it again into another number 1 plate there in Formula V. Season campaigner, both of those boys involved at the front end battle. And a bit further back there you can see that there's also a battle coming through for 3rd place. They're starting to close up ever so slightly on the back end of Wilson. Wilson's being closed down now by Brandon Hills and Peter Hills. 2 of them starting to work together. Just behind them, Shaun Van Der Linde. As that car has got through, yes, I think Carr might have got through there on MD Bester. So there might be a little bit of a change up there for 7th and 8th place, but we'll wait and see as they come back into shot now. We go back to the front, looking at the 2 leaders going through Uncini 1 and Uncini 2. Look at Lendl Jansen. He's got much bigger corner speed through Uncini 1 and Uncini 2 than what we're seeing from the lead car. And possible slipstream now as they go into the back straight, or is he going to try and drive down the back straight, and side by side they come towards the fastest corner in the Free State. And it's done. Great bit of maneuvering there from the Bull security car of Lendl Jansen, moving himself to the front end. And almost instantaneously taking about a 2-car length lead over the man who led out from the start, Gert Van Den Berg. Van Der Linde and MD Bester there, I think, has got through on Richard Carr, and Richard Carr still having to fend off the tensions there of Vaughn Hills. But I think he's pulled a small margin now. Change up for the leader the first time they're going to cross the line. And this time out, completing lap 4, Lendl Jansen at the front with 6 to go. He's still got big pressure from Gert Van Den Berg. Wilson and then Hills, and Hills coming into turn 1. Brandon, Peter, a little bit of a gap to Shaun Van Der Linde, then a smaller gap to, is that MD? No, Richard Carr, as I said, ahead of MD Bester now, so confirmation of that as they cross the line. Carr has taken the Lucky Star Flying Fish and put it just ahead of MD Bester's machine. So the Mangaza boys are fighting hard there with Greg Wilson, trying to find a way past, but haven't quite got there just yet. As you can see, similar liveries on those cars, and of course similar liveries as well as the cars just behind that. So got to have a look at helmets as well as the liveries and numbers on the side of those cars. Oh, Wilson runs wide, but that might just be an opportunity for a cutback here. Is it close enough? No, he's not close enough, unfortunately. Just not close enough, and I think Wilson might just hang on. He's been able to. So short little straight and then into a kink before they go into Uncini 1. And Greg Wilson under big threat and big attack now coming out of Brandon Hills and Peter Hills. The 2 Hills boys definitely working for opportunities to get through. Onto the back straight comes a high-flying Greg Wilson. But he's going to have to keep flying because at this point in time, he's under big attack further back from that. Shaun Van Der Linde under similar attack now from Richard Carr, all the way from Cape Town. Looking for a way through there on the Eddie Irvine-esque style car there. Sort of Irish colours going into Gielkop. Penultimate corner on the circuit. Final corner now for these three. And it is Greg Wilson ahead of Brandon Hills and Peter Hills, but certainly I think a little bit of pressure being applied there, and Greg Wilson's going to have to soak it up for at least another half of this race. 5 laps down and 5 to go. Brandon is applying the pressure but can't find a way through just yet. Peter's right there as well, looking to pounce if something goes wrong between those two cars in front of him. Behind them it's Richard Carr, Bester and Vaughn Hills. Interesting to note that current champion in this class and reigning champion in this class, Lucian Ramchanda, not here this weekend. Not quite sure what the deal is there. Maybe it's a possibility of Eid and celebrating Eid. So if he is, we do wish him all the very best, and of course the whole family too, but not quite sure if that is the case, but we'll wait and see if we can get confirmation on that. Maybe somebody knows out there in Facebook land. Lawrence Saunders has joined us, so has Richard Duckham and Peter Cronier, also watching all the way from Cape Town. Good morning to Hayley Faree, and of course also to Amy Jane Quinn and Ivan Newman all the way from East London. We'll be back in your side of town. Oh, problems there? Is that one of the back markers? Yeah, it's a back marker coming up on there. Just watching the back markers there and looking at the same time as what's happening on our live stream feed on Facebook and YouTube. A big welcome to everybody all around the world watching us. Those are the top two. Lendl Jansen and Gert Van Den Berg flying through the right hand at the end of the straight. Behind them, this is the battle for third. Wilson ahead of Brandon Hills and Peter Hills. Brandon with the blue helmet, Peter with the white helmet. And as you can see, similar liveries on those Mangaza cars of theirs. Willie watching from Polokwane. I beg your pardon there, Willie. My apologies. But now as they come across the line, it's a little bit more pressure onto Lendl Jansen. Lendl Jansen is certainly starting to feel the pressure there. 50.808 is his fastest lap time. He's just done a 50.567 and a 50.621. So nothing in it between those two. 0.3 of a second between the top two on track, and coming up on some more back markers. Another back marker to be negotiated probably by the end of this lap. As they come down towards turn 2. Right-hander that leads to the toe of the boot, which is turn 3 here at Phakisa. There you go, late on the brakes and closing things down, but not going to just dive up the inside just yet. I think Gert Van Den Berg might be just biding his time here. He's allowing Lendl Jansen to sort of hang on to the lead and dictate the pace around the circuit at the moment, but I think there's a very good possibility that he'll be hanging on for as much as possible to the front end of this field, and hopefully going to try and defend the attack from Gert Van Den Berg. But I think what Gert Van Den Berg is doing is waiting. He'll be waiting till a little bit later on in this race. We've completed 6.5 laps now. We've got 3.5 to go, and I think with about a lap and a half to go, we may see a little bit more pressure from Van Den Berg to get through there on the leader at this stage. Bull Security versus the DOE car. And now they come up on the back end of one of the back markers there. That's 777 car. 777, of course, Klinton Kane. Probably his first time. Oh, and here we go. Have a look at this. Inside line on the pit lane of the oval. And it was Brandon Hills looking for a chance to dive through there, but Greg Wilson saw him coming and shut the door. It has compromised his drive ever so slightly. They probably got a little bit of dirt on the tyres as well, and that might give an opportunity there for Peter Hills to dive through and get through on Brandon. Oh, he had a look. He had a big look. He's going to have another look here going to the final corner. Brandon goes defensive. Peter's going to dive through, try and get the late apex and get the drive onto the straight. Let's have a look and see what happens there as they come up on Klinton Kane. 777 car might just be a big factor here for these three fighting for third. Behind them, still very close between Carr and Bester. Richard Carr still ahead there of Bester for 6 and 7. Vaughn Hills and Shaun Van Der Linde making up the top 9. Down towards turn 2 they go again, through the little kink. And late onto the brakes. Coming up on that back marker, this is where things could change up dramatically. Klinton Kane will have to be very wary of the faster cars coming. He'll know exactly that he has to stay on his line. Don't change your line. Let the faster cars find a way through. Greg Wilson could use this to his advantage. Very good possibility that Wilson will get through, but the two Hills boys might get hindered slightly, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen unless he just opens up the door. No, he does. Good driving there from Klinton Kane just to allow the two Hills boys through and find a way past. They've got through on the back marker. Didn't hinder them too badly. Looks like a change up here as well. Yes, indeed. I think MD Best has found a way through there. Or is that Vaughn Hills who's found a way through? I think it may be MD Best who's got ahead now of Richard Carr. Back to the battle for third place. And look at how the gap has opened up because of that back marker. Definitely helping Greg Wilson out there. Wilson from Brandon from Peter. That's how it goes. The Hills boys looking for a chance now to get through on Greg Wilson. They've had a couple of big battles in the past. Have Greg Wilson and Peter Hills. Brandon Hills now into that mix as well. Back marker being caught by, in the background, I think that's Vaughn Hills and Richard Carr. So we'll keep an eye on that one. MD Bester, Vaughn Hills in similar liveried machines. Same as what we see with the two Hills boys further up the field, Brandon and Peter. And look at the pressure now on Wilson. We're about to complete lap number 8. 8 laps done for the leaders. These guys are about to complete their 8th lap of 10. So we got 2 to go. Oh, we're going to see. Looks like, Mr. Prestwood has joined us all the way from the UK. Thanks so much, buddy. Much appreciated there. Hope you're enjoying all the action. As you can see, it's close to 20 degrees Celsius here now at Phakisa Freeway. Looking to get up to about 25 degrees Celsius in total for today. So a nice cool winter's afternoon of racing, and early afternoon of racing, I should say. We're not even into the afternoon just yet. We're about an hour away from that. But needless to say, there's still lots of action to happen here today with Mobil 1 V8 Supercars, G&H Transport Supercars, the Extreme Supercars there, brought to you by G&H Transport. Another heat of the DOE Quality Parts Formula Vs, Posi Drive Volkswagen Challenge 2 heats, and of course the big one, the Phakisa 200, incorporating the Posi Drive Volkswagen Challenge and the 2 Car Care Clinic categories. That's Super Hatch and 111 Sports and Saloons, and the Sports and GT class as well. Look at that. Oh, those Hancooks are starting to feel the effects of 10 laps of racing now. They're into 9.5 laps to go. Well, 9.5 laps completed, 1.5 to go. Brilliant stuff here from these guys. Absolutely amazing. Here's a move from Brandon Hills. Can he drive around the outside? That'll be a brave move in a Formula V to go around the outside of Greg Wilson through that right-hander. Another back marker coming up and being overtaken. You can see being waved through there as well. I think that was Marcel Blignaut just giving those lead cars a chance to get through with only a lap to go for him now. So he'll do one less lap than everybody else. 9 down, 1 to go. Flying down into turn 1. And it's the number 2 car of Gert Van Den Berg, who is hanging on at this point in time for a possible win, but he's got to find a way through. On that last pass, Lendl Jansen was slightly quicker than him, to the tune of about 0.03 of a second. And you can see just how tight it is there between the DOE machine and the Bull security car of Lendl Jansen. Lendl Jansen wants his victory. He's certainly looking pretty dangerous at this point in time. He'd love to take that number 9 off his car at the end of the season and just leave the 1 on it. But that'll be a case of still a long way to go in 2021. Gert applying pressure, but Van den Berg can't find a way through just yet. Coming out of the Coke bottle corner and now through the little kink that leads up towards Unchini 1 and Unchini 2 here. Very, very close stuff. And they come flying through Unchini 2 now, and it's still Lendl Jansen getting good drive onto the back straight. Watch for the slipstream effect, though, from Gert Van Den Berg. He's got good drive onto the back straight, but there's almost instantaneous defensive driving coming out of Lendl Jansen. Van Den Berg pulls out. Will he be able to drive around the outside? As I said, that'll be a huge maneuver if he can. He tries, but I think there'll be lack of grip out there. He'll have to just settle for a second at this point and maybe dive on the inside into Gielkop. The last corner on the circuit is a possibility of an overtaking maneuver as well from Van Den Berg. Wilson seems to have pulled. What has happened to Brandon Hills? Oh no, that was the back marker. Sorry, that was Blignaut that came on. It was just picked up on the white car. Another back marker coming to the line. It is the Bull security car of Lendl Jansen, who looks like he may be able to hang on. He's going to take the victory. He does. Lendl Jansen beats out Gert Van Den Berg by only 1/10 of a second across the line. They're very tight stuff. Here comes the battle for third. Wilson has hang on, and he's hung on only just to stay ahead of Brandon Hills and Peter Hills there for 3, 4, and 5. Great racing as always. Here we go down a little bit further back. Big maneuver coming in the final stages there from Theo Vermaak. Theo Vermaak stepped up big time and came through for a possible single-digit finish, and he's going to do that. So it was Petty Hills in 5th. Then we went to MD Bester. Shaun Van Der Linde, there he is in the Eddie Irvine S colours there, ahead of Vaughn Hills and Theodore Vermaak. And then making up the top 10, we see Richard Carr just circulating pretty slowly at the end there. Must have been a little bit of an issue there on Richard Carr's car. Unfortunately there for the Lucky Star Sardines man. The Flying Fish, unfortunately, falling a little bit back there, alliteration aside. But take nothing away from a great Formula V race.